Today, I'll be taking a look at Darkwing Duck issue 2 by Dynamite Comics, which is written by Daniel Kibblesmith and with art by Ted Brandt and Rose Stein, and the main cover being done by Darkwing Duck series creator Tad Stones. So far, the Darkwing Duck comic has gotten off to a pretty good start, so we'll see how it does with issue number 2. We start off with Goslin, Darkwing, and Honker and Launchpad in the middle of doing rehearsals for a play. As Goslin puts it, the dialogue has not aged very well. And then in swoops in Drake, dressed as the Crimson Chrysanthemum, which is said to be one of the characters that inspired Darkwing. And here is also where we get the title for this issue, Year 1, Part 2 of 12, Bushwhacked. And as we see that they start to argue over who should get which role, and we get a pretty fun panel of them quickly switching roles with each other before Drake has had enough. And you see that they were just in the Mallard family living room. And then we cut to Honker and Goslin at school, where they have a new substitute teacher, Mr. Rushboot, whose entire body is covered in bandages, though it's pretty obvious right away who this new teacher actually is. And then we cut to Darkwing and Launchpad investigating a case of stolen seeds, which doesn't make Darkwing very happy at all, because he feels like he's wasting his time. And as he's doing that, we then see what Goslin's doing, which is trying out for the play, where she wants to get the lead role, but instead is given the role of Bush number 3, which Goslin is not happy with. But Honker is perfectly fine with being Bush number 4. And then we get a quick appearance by Honker's parents, Herb and Binky Muddlefoot, and his older brother Tank, which is a character that hasn't really been used very much in really any Darkwing media since the original show ended. Kind of fun seeing him here getting to actually do something. And after he's done bullying Goslin, for he got the role of the main villain, while she's just stuck being the Bush number 3, he leaves and Goslin gets to talk to the new substitute teacher, Mr. Rushboot. And here we actually get a pretty funny line where the substitute teacher, Rushboot, shows Goslin a garden, and Goslin responds as, "A secret garden, just like that book I was supposed to read," which is pretty funny and pretty in character for Goslin. And then now we cut back to the Mallard household, where Darkwing and Launchpad are doing some investigating on the seeds, where Goslin shows up to swipe some of the gardening equipment, which does make Darkwing a little bit suspicious. But then Goslin lies that she actually got the lead in the play, which will come back to be important later. And then we get a montage of Goslin working on the garden as the substitute teacher relaxes. The fertilizer that Goslin's been using is no ordinary fertilizer, which for anyone uninitiated, this should give them a clue as to who the substitute teacher's identity really is, as the hedge statues start to move. And you get Goslin saying her famous catchphrase, "Keen Gear." And as Darkwing is thwarting a robbery at a store, he runs into Herb Muddlefoot, which is how he finds out that Goslin's play is actually tonight. Makes him very unhappy. And now at the play, Darkwing is determined to find out what Goslin is keeping from him. And as Goslin and Honker and the rest of the kids are backstage, that's where Bush reveals his identity, and that Goslin had actually been helping him the whole time without knowing it. And this is also where Darkwing finds out that Goslin lied about her role in the school play. This is actually where we get a nice little reference, where the parents of the kid who got the lead, Duckley, went to the Kavanaugh School for Dramatic Teens, which is a reference to Christine Kavanaugh, who was the original voice of Goslin, who sadly passed away in the early 2010s. So that was a very nice reference there. And then Bushwick makes his move as vines break through the floorboards, and he reveals himself to the crowd. And during the chaos, Darkwing leaps into action as he declares, "Let's get dramatic." After Darkwing gets Duckley's sword, he ends up sword fighting a topiary statue of himself. And this is where Goslin finally tells the truth and reveals that she had accidentally helped Bushroot and that she lied about her role in the play because she didn't want to let Darkwing down. Darkwing accepts Goslin's apology while also throwing in a I mean random girl, whoever you are, which is a nice throwback to the original show, which Darkwing would do whenever they got too cavalier with his identity. And Darkwing get an idea, telling Goslin to turn the spotlight up to its maximum brightness, but of course, since Goslin doesn't know how to do that, she enlists Honker to help her, which is fine with him because he always wanted to do a behind the scenes role. He did not want to be on stage in front of everybody. And with Goslin and Honker's help, they blast Bushroot with the light, which shrivels him down so he can fit into Darkwing's hand. And with Bushroot defeated, also his vines and all of his creations also shrivel up as well. And with the day saved and Goslin learning the lesson, just because you're not the star of the show doesn't mean that you're not important as well. And the comic ends off with Bushroot being planted in the Malad's yard so that he grows back to normal size so he can go to prison. Where we also get a tease for the next issue, The Secret History of Darkwing Duck, which will flesh out Darkwing's early days when he was training to become a crime fighter. This is an excellent issue and does a perfect job of capturing the look and feel of classic Darkwing Duck. The writing was on point, the characters were very expressive, really deep cut references that I really appreciated. Pretty funny as well. I have come around a bit on the art style. With the first issue, I was under the impression that the comic was taking place in 2025. But after this issue, with some of the context clues, I believe actually the comic takes place in the mid to late 1990s. The art style would have been in line with the John Blair Moore style of art that the Darkwing comics had in that time period. So I am more willing to be accepting of it, even though I was never a fan of the John Blair Moore style. I said, so far, this comic has gotten off to a really good start. It's like watching an episode of the show, but in comic form. This is a very entertaining, very fun comic, and I hope that the next issues continue this. Till next time, see ya.